Welcome to today's Learn and Grow session, where we will be talking about the power of networking and how building and nurturing professional connections can make all the difference in your career journey. Today, we're shaking things up a little. We have a panel discussion format, and I am joined by Builure's own incredible leaders, Inshu Misra, Eshan Pandey, and Deepti Surve. Inshu is our founder and CEO. She's a Salesforce expert, Capado champion 4 times, and a dedicated career coach. Eshan is our executive director for technology and innovation. He has over 14 years of experience across varying sectors and known for his deep technical expertise and passion for creating positive change. Last but not least, we have Deepti, our executive director for product. She's a seasoned product strategy expert with a global background in banking and financial services. Deepti also focuses on human-centered design. So today, our discussion will be covering real-world strategies, personal stories, and practical tips on how to build those meaningful relationships that can advance your career. We'll also have time for a Q&A at the end. So if you do have any questions, pop them into the chat and we will address them. So let's jump in and get started. I'm going to start with a question to the group. Can you share a memorable networking experience, either funny, awkward, or inspiring?
I can take that up. So that's a really funny experience that I had at a conference when I connected with a person because we were both browsing our dog's Instagram accounts. And then it turned out to be a meaningful conversation and a potential business opportunity. So yeah, it was when it started, it sounded really awkward and weird, but then we ended up connecting so well. We followed each other's dogs on Instagram, and that ended up becoming a potential business opportunity. So you never know, the conversation you're shying away from having is the one the person might be looking for. So that's one memory that I wanted to share.
Funnily enough, Inshu and I, we met through our dog's Instagram accounts as well. So can attest to that. Does anyone else have?
I think, yeah, if Deepti wants to go next, I'll go after that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So actually for me, it is a bit of inspiring story for me. So in my previous job, when, I was in that mode where I want to change my profile and I want to reach out to more people, understand what roles are out there. I remember reaching out to quite like senior executive in the bank, and it was just like a normal official email asking for mentoring opportunity. And what inspired me was, despite her busy schedules, she managed to like take out the time. And even better was that, even though like I had literally just 15 minutes with her, I was so amazed with the kind of attention that she gave me. Like those 15 minutes were just for me, where you expect that, when, for example, when I used to go to networking events, sometimes you're distracted looking around. So I think that one interaction with that senior executive just taught me how important it is. Like it's more about like quality as opposed to quantity. So even those 15 minutes were like so inspiring for me. So that was like the best networking experience or outcome that I've had.
Yeah, that was great. Like with me, what happened that it was I think I came in Australia just 6 months. It's around 2018, and I was desperate for a job. I was struggling to get a job, and I was going in few networking events. But one of the events I went in, and it was a good tech event. I did not know anybody, but then this gentleman was at the snack table, and we were having a chat, and I was trying to show him about my integration background and my tech knowledge, and he was like, "Are you an Apple person?" And I went into my tech side explaining around differences between Mac and Windows around the flexibility performance, and I thought I was impressing him with my knowledge, and he looked a bit confused. And then I realized that he was holding a green shiny apple in his hand, and he was trying to offer me the fruit. So yeah, that was something that that was awkward. We laughed out, but again, yeah, there were a few takeaways. First is that. Always, if there is a simple question, doesn't need to get a technical answer. And the second one was like always accept the fruit. So yeah, that was something that was awkward.
I do love those stories. Thank you for sharing. And it's a good way to show that we don't always have to be so serious and stress too much about networking. So going into our next question, for someone who feels like they don't know where to begin with networking, what would be the first step you would recommend to start?
I can take that up because I definitely went through that situation when I moved to Australia. I did not have a very like strong network here, or I did not know anyone from before. Um, so yeah, I think the very first step, the immediate step that you can take is you can just start with people you already know. Like even if when I came here, I was like, I don't know anyone, but you know, even if it's just like two people, just start with that. So we really underestimate how many people we actually know. And I started with those two people. It became like 4, 10. So it just grew from there. So I think the very first step is just to action it. Like many a times you have this idea of networking that it needs to be a big event, it needs to be a big setup. Yeah, but in my experience, it doesn't have to be so. You just get started somewhere, even if it means like having a virtual coffee catch up with someone, whatever works for you. Yeah, but get out there.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So it's like I also tell everyone that you need to start by identifying your interests and finding communities or events centered around those topics. So, say for example, you're interested in data analytics or Salesforce, there are so many communities already running. And you can get there and join those communities, try to talk to those people. And I would be if you don't know anyone, you might end up knowing someone from that. And like Deepti said, start with your existing network, whoever you know from your work, or maybe you met someone at the community center. Start by getting to know them and then build your own network on top of it. And you'll be surprised, in no time you will have a network of hundreds of people. When I came to Australia, I literally had only my manager who I had known, like even personal or professional. I had no one in this country that I could have counted on or maybe talk to. Like, but now when I look back, and see my network, I met Deepti, I met Julia, I met so many other incredible people and our community members. It's like more than 100 people that I already know living in Melbourne, let alone Australia. So yeah, LinkedIn groups or industry specific meetups are also a great way to get started. He is too like I'm like just like talking and talking. I'm waiting for Eshan that he will pick it up, and then he's not doing that.
Yeah. So like similar story. When I came in Australia, I just knew one person, Inshu, so my network was even smaller. But yeah, like as Deepti and Inshu mentioned, LinkedIn is one of the best things for me because I am more intrigued by technical things. I joined few technical discussion groups, and from there I met few people who later on have helped me in few of my technical queries and integration as well. So it depends on your interest. If you are a person who is outgoing and you can go on coffee catch-ups, it's great. If you are like me, who wants the comfort of home and then wants to do majority of things virtually, you can have that. A lot of events and a lot of webinars are there, and there are close-knit groups that if you try to get into the groups where there are technical discussions, you get to know about more groups and these webinars and especially after COVID, a lot of things are going virtual. So yeah, if you are a bit introvert person like me, you can always make the most of out of those virtual webinars.
Agree with the virtual. I'm all for virtual networking. That's pretty much how I have my network as well. So leading into this, networking can feel overwhelming. What's one strategy that helps you make it easier or less stressful? Eshan, do you want to kick it off?
Yeah, so for me, like like networking and to because when I started back in the day, I had a lot of pressure on me that I have to exponentially grow my network. So that pressure sometimes comes onto you, and because initially I tried to put on a polished face and look more professional, but you don't have to do that facade, because genuinely what I believe that if I told people my story, my struggle and the things I have been going through, they connected with me on a deeper level. So the strategy would be to be intentional in reaching out to people and let them see the real you, because then you would connect more naturally. And if not, then maybe that person is not meant to be in your connection and you don't need to connect.
Yeah, that's
Fantastic.
brilliant. Yeah. So, like Deepti also mentioned in one of her answers, like focus on quality over quantity. So that should be our strategy. And adding to that, yeah, there are 8 billion people in the world, and you only need one person at a time to hold your hand. So focus on building that one connection at a time. That is my go-to one strategy if you talk about.
Yeah. I think my personal strategy, which gives me confidence before a networking event, is wearing heels, high heels. That's like the easiest way for me to feel confident. And I think, in fact, in the last meetup, Inshu and I went to, that is what we were talking about. Just wearing those heels and feeling tall and prouder, it just gives me confidence to walk into a room and approach people. So that is something that works for me. Yeah, but having said that, I think one other tip that I would definitely like to share, which I learned the hard way, was just prepare your introduction. I think it's very important because sometimes you really want to connect with someone, and you might just not have that much, a very limited amount of time to talk to them. So it's always good to at least have a basic introduction about yourself. So that's a strategy or a tip that I would definitely like to share.
I agree. I always have a 30-second, I call it an elevator pitch. If someone
Yeah.
is trapped in an elevator with me, I want 30 seconds to say who I am, what I do, who I support, and so on. How do you stay authentic when you're networking while still being strategic in building those relationships?
I can take that. It's just one sentence. It's about listening more and speaking from a place of shared goals. So once you start listening, um, you can you don't even have to be intentional in being authentic. Once you start listening, the other person will tell their story themselves, and then you just have to connect with, like, just have to focus on what is the common factor that you connect with them on, and start talking about that particular aspect and try to add value to the other person's journey. For example, if I meet someone and they start sharing about their experiences, I would just ask some questions to them: what your day was like, and how are you attending this event? So they themselves share their stories, and we just need to listen to them carefully and pick on the common topic. Like when I met this person in a recent event, I just asked them, what are you going through? And they ended up sharing that they were a recruiter. And then because we're also working for something related to recruitment, even though that event was not for recruiters, it was a technical event for women in leadership. I ended up meeting a recruiter whom I'll be having a chat with later this afternoon. So you never know. what the other person has to share, and you just need to connect by listening to their story first.
Yeah. I think I totally agree with that. Active listening is something which is basic and it's very foundational. And I just wanted to share something that I had experienced when I moved here. I remember, when as soon as I moved here, I was not used to networking in India. It was just it is a very different culture back there. And then when I come here, I'm like, okay, you just meet strangers, you talk to them, like how does that work? And when I used to go to this networking event, I was so focused on pushing my agenda forward because I was desperately looking for a job at the time. So so now I find it like when I reflect back on it, I was like, oh, that was not the right way to do it. But that was a big learning for me where, yes, I was desperate for a job. Yes, I, wanted to showcase my experience, but I just learned that, not necessarily the other person has the same sense of urgency for me or what I had about my situation. So it's definitely not that other person's burden to bear. And I think because of that attitude, I lost out on many opportunities to have like an authentic connection because for me it was just about what do you say, like receiving. And even now when quite a few people who approach me, I can feel that, yes, for you it is an urgent situation, for you that job is important, but what you're doing is by just focusing on that aspect, you're actually just missing out on a wonderful opportunity to connect with someone. So I think if you really want to have that authentic connection, you need to know that it is not only about receiving, but you should also be willing to give. And that giving can be just a listening ear or just being genuinely interested in what that other person has to share. Yeah, and it takes time. That is what I've learned. Yes, maybe an opportunity, you might get a quick opportunity through some connection, but I've learned that whatever connections I have built over time, they are so much valuable to me now in my network. So yes, that is definitely something that I would really want everyone to know, that when you're reaching out to someone, yes, you have an agenda, but at the same time, you need to give that space to that other person to connect with you.
Yep, exactly. The things which Inshu and Deepti told that, yeah, when you're reaching out a person, you have your things and a story, but the other person is also ready with a story to tell. So it's always there. What I think is that if you are reaching out to a person, listen to them first, because initially, uh, when I used to talk with a new person or any person, I used to kind of dominate the conversations. It was always 80-20, 80% I'm giving and just receiving 20. That I slowly lowered. And what I have also learned is earlier what I used to do is if I'm having a chat with someone, immediately if they are answering my question or if they are telling something, I used to pick one word or something, and while they are speaking, I was kind of thinking around the other question, the next question to ask, and I was missing on what actually they are saying. And yeah, funnily enough, I was giving a presentation to a big general manager, and then he ended and he said that, okay, but I think this is the cost is high, and I was stuck on the cost is high, and I was preparing my next question to counter that. And at the end he was like, but I agree with you, and I was like, no, but the cost. And I was like, oh my god. Like if in order to fixate on the word, listen to the person first, and then try to take a pause, and then try to formulate and categorize your thoughts, not in the middle. So that is something I would say could be a strategy, that hear the person first and then try to gather your thoughts around the answers.
Fantastic. I am going to go rogue and ask a question that the panelists don't know. So what I wanted to know is, once you've attended those networking meetings or events, what then? What do you do to keep that connection happening, and so they don't forget who you are, what you do, and plant that seed of thought in their mind?
I can take that up. That's something that I always do, and I have heard similar feedback from others as well. That if you're going to a networking event, it just doesn't end there. If you're meeting someone and if you want them to remember you, just remember to follow up with them. Never forget to introduce yourself. And if, say, for example, you're in a middle of the conversation and you realize that you don't know the name of that person who seems so interesting, it doesn't harm to say, by the way, I'm Inshu. Like, by the way, you're going to say that, and they will introduce themselves. It's just given in the human connection. So once that happens, always keep your LinkedIn profile handy. You get the QR code, just give it to them and say that, would you like to connect on LinkedIn? And give them the space to say yes or no. And if they fidget around, then there are other strategies. But yeah, this always works. Just give them the your LinkedIn QR code. And once they connect, remember, if you are connecting with that person, remember in your mind that you have to follow up. And LinkedIn has a great way of telling you, like, if you are connecting with someone, you can find those people on top of your connection list. So even if you forget to maintain that list, you can go back after that networking event, you can go back, relax, and maybe the next morning, you can create that list and follow up with them. Send a note that it was great meeting with you. Would you be interested in continuing our conversation? And that way, because now there comes the confirmation bias that happens in our mind, back of the mind, that they've already known us, they've already met us. Now, whatever we say would then stay in their mind, stay in their head. Otherwise, they'll forget. So that's one way I do it, and it always works.
Yeah, I think it's the same for me as well, and I think that's a brilliant tip, Inshu. Especially the LinkedIn QR code. I think I was not aware of it for quite some time, and Inshu introduced me to it, and that is such an awesome feature to have. So because I think you cannot definitely share your personal like phone numbers or anything. So LinkedIn is the best way to connect to people. And as Inshu mentioned, it is also about follow up. So it just doesn't end at that networking event. If you have like genuinely connected, if you're really interested in following that person, always go back and drop them a line, drop them a message. Yeah, and just take it from there. Yes, so follow up is something definitely, as humans, I think we are just like programmed that way. We would it always helps.
Yep, yeah, exactly. All the points Inshu and Deepti already told around. It's a very fine line you have to tread carefully in order to follow up, and then that person doesn't feel that you are kind of being like stalking or anything. But yeah, it's always good to, like, if you felt that you had a very meaningful conversation with that person in that networking event, and you both felt that, okay, there is something maybe we can work together, or maybe we can work on any idea. It's always good to follow up and also respect, as Dipti told, the space of another person. You don't have to be intrusive. At the same time, you have to show that you are genuinely interested in whatever thing you want to do. So I think, yeah, that's the best way.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
can I just also add that do not take it personally as well, because many a times we take it too personally. I messaged this person, I thought we had a connection, and that person hasn't responded. So yeah, just don't take it personally. Everybody has that, lots of things happening in their life. So yeah, if you connected, you do your part, and if the person wants to reach out to you, they'll reach out to you. So yes, don't take it personally.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a really good advice.
Agree. You're not everyone's cup of tea at the end of the day. So,
Exactly.
and my final question before we wrap up and head into Q&A, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd known about networking when you were just starting out? Who would like to go first with that one?
I can go first. The one thing that we have already talked about, discussed about here in this discussion, I wish I had known that networking isn't just about what others can do for you. It's about building mutually beneficial relationships. So my advice is approach each conversation with the intent to give as much as you take. And then you will be able to build those long-lasting connections.
Yes, I think I have a similar take. It's think about the value that you can provide as well. And as I mentioned, my story when I came here, and how I was always in what I can get out of this, or what is my agenda. So that's a very wrong approach. It's you need to also be in a giving mode. So yes, that is definitely like a foundational thing that you need to remember when you're networking with someone.
Yeah, exactly. And because I come from a background where I have worked in India, in New Zealand, and then in Australia. So sometimes what works for one country cannot work for another. But again, the universal emotions of humans is always kind of common everywhere. So yeah, as Inshu and Deepti mentioned, you have to be more involved in whatever conversation you are having with any person. And then also, if you can work on a little bit of your personal brand, because on LinkedIn, when I came in here, I did not give enough importance on the LinkedIn profile. And then I worked on it, and after 2 years, it was a long process. But then after that, I started receiving job offers from big companies because they were seeing my profile and my progress. So that is something you can always do. Is it's a two-way street. You have to do the conversation, but at the same time, you have to present yourself so that you could be intriguing for the other person as well. They find interest in you and they think, okay, you have some value that you can provide.
Perfect. Thank you. And with that, that's all my questions now done and dusted. Are there any questions from those who are in the session that they would like to know? Anything else? Feel free to unmute yourself or pop a question in the chat if you do.
I would like to add one more thing to it. So we always talk about attending the events and whatever webinars or events are happening, and we need to go and attend them. But say, for example, the event that you're interested in is going to happen next month, and you wanted to do something next week or maybe in 2 weeks' time. What then? Will you want to start building your network? The one thing that I wish I had known earlier was you can always go and create your meetup group. Whatever you are interested in, just write the name of that of your interest and create a meetup group, and you will be surprised how many other people in your own locality will be interested in something similar to that topic. So, and you will end up creating so many long-lasting connections from just going to those meetups.
Yeah,
So
I think
that's
that's
one
a
thing.
that's a very good advice, Inshu, because I think many a times it's that perspective where you are waiting for networking opportunities and you're waiting. So I think this is a really good perspective where you don't have to wait. You can be the one who can start that networking event. So yeah, thanks for sharing that.
I agree. I would also add in that don't forget to leverage the communities that you're in. For example, the builure community, you have members at your fingertips where you don't have to wait for a networking event. If there's someone who you're interested in chatting to, just drop them a message or drop a message in the general chat and say, hey, anyone want to have a virtual coffee? Or it's making use of the people that are already in that area as well. And Tasia has asked, what is your approach when someone does not respond in the networking event?
Like, by not responding, do you mean you approach them and they just shrug off? Like,
Yes.
oh, okay. Ignore them. If they don't respond, they don't want to talk to you. Ignore them. Just respect their boundaries, their space, and they're not meant for you. See, like I said, there are 8 billion people in the world. You can't sit and lament about everyone else's reactions. So focus on who's interested. And I always like to give this example. So I attended a webinar where I was the only one person. So this is my favorite story. Everyone knows about it. And that actually taught me a value that they did not end the webinar because there was only one person. They conducted the webinar. And I was so impressed by that because I was also coming from a mindset of a judgmental mindset back then, that if I'm the only one person attending this webinar hasn't got any value. So I was working on that mindset. I was trying to change it. And then I attended that webinar where I was the only person, and they still conducted the entire webinar. We had a Q&A. I connected with the speaker one-on-one, and I ended up getting my EDIS accreditation after that. So that's what happened because I took the initiative. I went with a broad mindset, and they came with a broad mindset that even though there was only one follower, they had to conduct it. And that's what I said. Out of those 8 billion people, you just have to have one person's commitment to hold your hand at a time. So just focus on that one person. Even if you get one connection out of a networking event, that's enough. That's more than enough.
Yeah, exactly. And here, what Inshu said, there was a study done by the Oxford University where in the 80s, I guess, where they had a control group and a experimental group, and both were instructors and they were college professors, and how they were marking their students on a given particular day. So if they were in a good mood, if they did not have a fight, or they were in a good mood, generally they were marking them above average. But when they were in a bad mood, they were just intentionally, even though the student had written some of the best pieces of work, they were just marking them below average. So it might be that you reach that person and he might not be in a good mood at that time, and that frustration is what he is trying to portray. So in that case, take that as not personally, and in that case it's not you, it's them. So sometimes that happens and you have to let it go, because if you are trying something multiple times, you won't be getting success on everything.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like, don't take it personally. And yeah, we have so many opportunities, so just focus on what you can get. Yeah, and focus on people who are approaching you. That is equally important. So while you are focusing on getting somebody else's attention, maybe somebody else is trying to get your attention. So yeah, just be mindful of that as well.
It does happen. I've had it happen to me a couple of times, and it's just, well, that's okay. I'll turn around and try someone else.
Yes.
Are there any other questions from the group? Or if not, we may close out early. I think,
Yeah, sure. If we have time,
yeah.
the last tip I would like to just came to my mind, that while you are doing networking with any person, that because this is something which I have learned for a few years now, because I cannot remember names. So that is one of my biggest weaknesses, I would say, that I'm working on now. And as according to Dale Carnegie, the sound of one's name is the most sweetest sound for that person. So whenever in a conversation you are doing, try to not overindulge, but try to use that name of the person maybe a few times, because that gives the personal touch and that shows that you are paying attention and you give them value. So I think that could be one of the tricks, which not trick, but it is something that you can take off. That usually in my conversation, when I try to take that person's name at the key moments, and I think that could be setting you apart, and that could be creating your image in that person's mind, that okay, this is person that gives value and cares about listening what I'm saying. So that is one tip that you could always use.
And one more thing that I wanted to add on that, like after listening to Ishan's example, that like I said, maintain that LinkedIn list. And if you have the QR code, you can always try and recall who that person was, because most of the people have their photos on. So you will remember that. And the other thing that you can do is, whenever you're going to a networking event, if you know you want to connect with those people, just do some kind of research beforehand. And like Eshan mentioned, whenever you are doing that conversation, taking the name of that person like helps them remember you and connect with you, because then the conversation automatically becomes interesting because they heard their name. And that's like a common human thing that just happens with our minds.
Yeah, and I think when we listen to all these tips, when I used to be one of the attendees, listening to other inspirational people, I think one of the things that comes to mind is, but these are such basic things, but you would be surprised, like so few people do them. So when you listen to all these tips, yeah, active listening, genuine curiosity, these are all very basic things, but so many people don't do it. So even if you start doing it from today, you are already way ahead of the curve.
Like Ishan said in one of his answers, that you don't have to talk about iPhone when you hear Apple. Just remember to eat fruits as well.
I love that story. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I have just popped a survey link in the chat. We would love it if you could provide some feedback on this session. It will literally take about 2 minutes, and it will help us prepare for future sessions. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. I do hope you found it insightful and inspiring. A big thank you to our panelists, Inshu, Eshan, and Deepti, for sharing their valuable experience and tips. Remember to keep building those genuine connections. It can be a game changer in your career, and I encourage you to put the strategies we discussed into action. If you have any more questions or need any further support, feel free to reach out via Slack. We're here to help. Have a fantastic day, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Thanks so
everyone.
much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.